Welcome to The Real Heal, a show featuring real, raw, and authentic conversations between experts in the holistic health space. This is your chance to be a fly on the wall, listening to a 100% organic, unscripted chat about topics in the holistic health world that most aren't even talking about. And believe me, we are holding nothing back. I am your host, Dr. Renee Wallenstein, also known as the Libidoologist, double board certified doc, entrepreneur, as well as healthcare disruptor. I have navigated the traditional world of medicine in overcoming my own personal health obstacles, and I had to take matters into my own hands when the system was failing me. Now I'm shaking things up and sharing my message while collaborating with other experts in my holistic health community to bring you answers to your burning questions about not only getting well naturally, but sustaining that newfound good health. Each week, I will bring you an expert guest, and we will address not only the physical components of optimal health, but also the mental and spiritual influences that will set you up for a long life of limitless energy, self-confidence, and joy so you can get the real heal for good. So if you're ready, let's get into it. I am so happy to have you on the show, Justin. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Renee, for having me on.
So we're actually going to touch on topics today that, again, as we were talking before I hit the record, we're taking this podcast in a different direction this year and talking about things that we don't normally talk about when it comes to our health and things that directly affect our health, but we're just not talking about enough. And so we're going to touch on some of those topics today. But Justin, before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm an Athleticsim Performance Coach. 25 years ago, started Athleticsim.com, working with amateur and professional athletes. I do nerve work for sports performance. I treat concussions. I use light, sound therapy, frequency, vibration. I look at the body in a whole different approach for human performance. And what I saw in my practice was professional athletes breaking down from wearable technology. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me into starting EMFrocks.com and rolling out our grounding bags. And I really was wondering what the difference was between us and electricity. And so I started researching it, found out that EMFs are one-directional waveforms and we're not made that way. And so that was the catalyst that brought me to looking to nature to solve this challenge.
I love that. Yeah. And so how long ago did you start? Did you start Athleticsim.com?
So 25 years ago,
wow.
We started out a Scripps clinic in La Jolla and had an incredible mentor named Dean Brittingham. And we were a track-based program working on coordination and ambidexterity, whole body, whole brain, just the whole gamut for out of the box stuff that no one knew what professional athletes were doing back then. And ours was one of the pioneers in the sports performance world for doing it. And it's just evolved into a bunch of curated health products right now.
I love that. And I actually wrote down a couple more things that if we have time, I'd love to pick your brain on. But so your biggest areas of focus are optimizing health and performance by looking at EMFs and also sleep, optimizing sleep. Is that correct?
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing for me, Dr. Renee, was, hey, if you can get the stressor off of a body, they're going to heal really quickly. The body's an innate, incredible healing machine. So the biggest stressor that I identified that wasn't being addressed was EMFs. So the nervous system can downregulate from emotional stress, thoughts, feelings, emotions, stress, a physical, which would be too much exercise, too little, or a big trauma. And then the biochemical would be food, drink, air, or EMF was the one. And so the EMF was, I got to lean into this. It's the next biggest topic. This is about a decade ago. We're being inundated with levels that we've never seen before. There's no proximity protocol balance. It's just more is better, more is better. And intuitively, I knew it just wasn't enhancing for the body.
Yeah. So I guess, we went from 3G to 5G. So how is this 5G affecting our health, our sleep?
Yeah. So let me break it down for you really in simple terms. Waves per second. Everyone can chew on that. these microwatts per meter squared, all this stuff, this mumbo jumbo in this space. No one understands what that means. But when you break everything down into a wave, the speed of a wavelength in waves per second, everyone can understand it. So when we're sleeping, Dr. Renee, our brainwave states, they're in delta or theta brainwave state, right? They're 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. So we rev at a really low and slow brainwave state when we're in that restorative state. Well, that's the same as the universe. The Schumann resonance, the healing pulse of the earth, is known to be about 7.83 hertz or waves per second. So we're really one with the earth. We rev really well with it. But then when we introduce these one directional waveforms, these things are 2.45 billion waves of a one directional waveform. And that's 4G. To jump up to 5G, you're looking at speeds of 60 to 90 billion waves per second of a one directional waveform. So easy question. You add 10 zeros to anyone's bank account. Is that a big difference? Yeah, it's significant. When you add 10 zeros to the speed of a one directional polarizing waveform on our body and in our atmosphere, it chips away at our life force and our health in massive ways.
Wow. So it disrupts at a cellular level, right? Penetrating.
Oh, the cellular is the one. So Dr. Martin Paul out of Washington State University discovered that it was the cellular level. It's a voltage gated calcium channels open up. They allow positive calcium into a negative cell, in turn causing tremendous cell and DNA damage. Mm-hmm. So that's your voltage gate. That's your mitochondria. That's where the energy, is developed inside the cell, and you're messing with that right out of the gate. And then in turn, you get these secondary effects. So we know it's cellular level. And Dr. Tom Cowan really talks about that 2.45 billion waves per second or gigahertz. That's the speed of destructuring water. So it's messing with our hydration in our system. Mm-hmm. It's messing with the mitochondria of our system. And what it happens is it decharges our body. The eyes, the teeth, the thymus, and your large intestine are the 4 areas that get hit first. And then we cascade into all the others that I call them level 1, 2, and 3. All the cognitive, focus, lack of, memory, behavior, anxiety, fatigue, stress, headaches, ringing in the ears. Then you go into the lack of sleep. That's level 1, classic cognitive challenges with EMF toxicity. Level 2 would be the bigger ones, ringing in the ears, muscle twitching, non-trauma concussion symptoms, nausea, vomiting, rashes on the skin, seizures. Those would be the big ones, bloody noses, more, massive migraines. And then you go into the bigs: cancer, suicide, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease. And then the biggest one we're seeing right now is a lack of fertility.
Wow, that one hits home because I'm a gynecologist, but, and for all those years, people like, oh, infertility, we don't know why. I'm like, look around you, just look around you, and I always said, it's environmental. So I never knew there were levels of EMF toxicity.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we saw it in the Havana cohort. When you get attacked by microwave radiation, it was the first attack of U.S. embassy workers on foreign soil with microwaves. Sent them to the hospital, and they had that level 2 non-trauma concussion symptoms. So they can use it as a weaponry. And I work with lots of military, Navy SEALs. These guys, these are weapons. And the 5G has different bandwidths inside of it. They're the same spectrum as microwaves, where they're ionized radiation. And what happens is they cause a thermal effect in your body, and that vibration, is where the challenge is. It'll oscillate the cells, warm up, similar to what a microwave would do. So they're in that same bandwidth. The thing is they're saying, hey, if it's non-ionizing, then it's okay for you. So in 1996, our government set those procedural levels where, hey, if it doesn't cause a thermal effect, then it's okay. But no one's really testing it. The FCC doesn't care about your health. They just want more connectivity, more connectivity. And then this marketing inundation is just we're just being brainwashed to say, hey, everybody's got to have EMF. The whole world needs to be connected. Well, no, it doesn't. The deserts, the mountains, the oceans, the forests, these are remote areas. They don't need millimeter waves. There's not even electricity in remote third world countries. So what in the world are they going to do with 5G beaming down on them? It's just zapping them, dehydrating them, and hurting them.
Have they looked at studies of people in, so I went to one of the blue zones in Costa Rica, and of course cell service was really scant there, and they are very different culture, like they're very much connected to family, and they're not on their phones, and it's very much how we used to be. Like you got to wait till they get home to see them. They don't have their cell phones, and like, are they looking at those areas such as the blue zones? Or I'm not sure if all the blue zones are like Costa Rica, but as far as their lack of connectivity and their incidences of this EMF toxicity.
I think there are a lot. I think we're starting to see it more like the Amish per se, is they're not into this whole space and they're thriving, huge, healthy communities, good fertility. So I think there's a lot of recognition of that for sure.
Gotcha.
The biggest book, Dr. Renee, that everyone should look at is called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. That categorizes the history of electricity and life. And so this is the Bible for the electricity world. And the bibliography is about 150 pages. It's so well referenced and researched. And it goes back to 1889 when we first introduced electricity into our homes. They called the flu before that because it flew in and flew out with solar flares. So not until we introduced these electricity in our home was the flu here to stay. And then he goes on to major pandemics and looks at the studies of death in certain regions from it and attributes it to increased electrification of our atmosphere. And before 1889 were solar flares, but 1918, that was the Spanish flu. We introduced radio waves for the first time on a broad spectrum across the world. Then we had World War II, where we introduced radar, and we had Hong Kong flu, satellites in the Van Allen belt, this protective layer. And then the last couple of years, we introduced 5G. So you can go through history and directly correlate polluting our environment with millimeter waves or wave forms, and electrifying our atmosphere with one directional waveforms, and then seeing how our bodies adapt to it. Wow.
That's impressive. And so it's such a reality check. I'm like, these are things, and I'm glad you're talking about it, and I'm glad you're here because we're not talking about this enough. And, I think it's I always talk about how people think it's inconvenient to adopt a healthier lifestyle and eat better, but how inconvenient is it to not have your cell phone or your computer right with you, or all our devices? And I mean, obviously, it must be like other toxicities. The more you have, the worse the toxic burden, right? The load. So if you have your iPad and your cell phone, and what about men and cell phones in pockets, or women? Like, I mean, is it regional also? Like, say you put I know they have things for computers and such that you put on your lap. I mean, is there a direct correlation with the proximity of the device in your body?
Definitely. The phone companies and these tech companies, they've developed absorption ratings. They call them SARS ratings. So they don't even test a cell phone unless it's a few inches from your head. So people are putting it directly against their head when the tests that they use are several inches away. So the closer the proximity to any EMF, man-made, non-native, the way bigger of a stressor it is on the body. So you have this decrease in it. Every inch it's further away from you. So and that holds true with solar on a home or being close to cell towers or Wi-Fi routers, laptop, cell phones, all of that. Excuse me, for sure. Those are huge, topics for like, let's develop protocols with this stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what about Bluetooth? Like, saying having your phone up to your head, but then what if you put your Bluetooth Apple AirPods in? Are they same?
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. So you guys, there's an airway canal from your ears to your brain, right? There's no skull there. It's an airway canal. So if you have localized millimeter waves in your inner ear, that's 2.45 billion waves per second of a one directional waveform, an antenna broadcasting, beaconing the stuff in your ear. So our California Department of Public Health, who also doesn't really care about our health, hid studies of acoustic nerve and cancer challenges from cell phone. A Berkeley professor sued him about 7 or 8 years ago and said, guys, just release your study and tell us what you found. But they didn't want to because they knew it was so devastating. So he won in court. They put it up there for a blip, and now it's buried on their site. You can't find it. You go there, you won't find that study on their site. So it's wild how these health organizations, they know about this stuff. But again, the FCC is the overarching big gorilla that's going, hey, everyone has to have it. We don't care if it hurts your health. We got to be connected. And so everyone else is going, whoa, like we don't have anything without our health. Let's slow this down. And so there's this interplay of that. And with zero awareness and at all cost method. I mean, even last year in the news, and I don't watch the news anymore, but China was able to tap into some of our 5G bandwidths because they're all millimeter waves. So you can tap into it and steal information off of the Internet of Things. So that's how you're pulling information from it. So fiber optics, faster, safer, it's more reliable. There's minimal health challenges. We're just going the wrong way and looking at this stuff the wrong way because we want to be wireless and or at least governments feel that that's the best direction for us.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So let's talk about electric cars. I mean, you're doing something great for the environment. Are they good for us?
So look, you're an MD. Have you ever read in any health book that sitting on a massive battery is good for your health?
I've never read either way. So good or bad.
I've never read that. So the answer is no, like definitively no. And the reason is you always want, even my mom's like, hey, don't sit next to the TV when you're little. You never sleep with your head on the other side of a refrigerator. There's a magnetic resonance behind it. You never want to have a massive battery underneath you. That's a vibration that we've never seen before that close. Right above, we're sitting on it. That's our private parts. And then why do tech companies call a laptop? You're putting it right over your reproductive organs. Ovaries absorb 10 times the amount of radiation than any other part of the body. Sperm counts plummet with EMF. Testosterone drops 18% for guys and girls driving electric cars, is what a colleague of mine who's an expert in blood analysis got hired by the military special forces saw. So the last thing you want to do is drive an electric car and put your family in it. Wow,
that's powerful. And I just think like where we're going with electric cars, like we're going to have an infertile world. Our population is going to, we're not going to be able to reproduce anymore.
It's going to be really challenging. It's going to be really, really challenging. So another doctor, she asked me not to say her name, but I'll tell it to you off air, MD. She pooled her clients that received the COVID shot versus not, and they had 20% lower testosterone, the ones that got the shot. So if you have someone that got a shot and drives an electric car, that's almost, literally 40% lower testosterone just right out of the gate. Wow. You take a perfectly healthy person and put them into a pretty dangerous, space while they're aging, while they're continue to be inundated with basically bad air, bad food, and then lots of EMF just in their own space, just their own doing for the most part. It's really tough to heal when you're decharged, Dr. Renee. When you lose your polarity in your body, it's tough. Like, your body needs to get grounded. Eileen McCusick says it best. Our body acts like a body battery. We get a negative ionic charge from the Earth's resonance, and we pull those electrons in it. We get a positive charge from above, from the sun, from the unpolarized scalar waves that distribute equally in every direction, the framework of our universe. Mm-hmm. We breathe in minerals, and hopefully we get it from our food, and we drink great water for the conductivity. That's how our body battery works. When we put shoes on, live in electrical boxes, have one electricity all over us, our life force is going to get chipped away, and we're going to lose some of that polarity at some point. We don't know when that switch goes on. When do your eyes get decharged, or your teeth, or your thymus? When do you lose that electrical system in your body at full strength? We don't know. Our bodies are so resilient, but it's like, you'll feel it. Like, maybe one day you'll wake up and you're not on your energy. You didn't wake up and jump out of bed, or you get that afternoon fatigue. Whatever the case may be, that's where we need to recognize that, hey, look, we got to recharge our body battery and get it just reconnected. And we got to get grounded by nature to do that. It's a really simple thing. And I can share how we use our grounding bags as well to recharge those. There's a tapping protocol, which is awesome. It mimics walking barefoot outside, but it locally directs it to those areas that get decharged, which is super fun.
Yeah, I was just going to ask the next question is, okay, so we've talked all about the negative, okay, so we're all depressed, that we're like just inundated with connectivity and like it's all around us. So what are the first steps? Like, what can we do? I know you have some products as well, which we'll talk about, like, for that person listening right now, like, before they buy anything, what can they do besides disconnecting from some of their devices? Like, what is the most couple practical things that they can do?
Get grounded by nature, you guys. It's free. It's the easiest thing. So, that's what you want to do. Get outside, touch a tree, go barefoot, get into a body of water, have a picnic, start gardening, get your hands in the soil, get as close to the resonance of the earth as you can. Get outside, get some sunlight, get the nutrients from the waveforms of our universe. That's the biggest thing, not a pharmaceutical drug. Like, this is health. This is the biggest free gift, is just your breath and breathing in this amazing gift of oxygen and resonance of Mother Nature. And it's free. So the other thing is, you get grounding bags, and those are our crystals. We hand mine crystals. They look like this inside. They're beautiful pink crystals, but they have a resonance of the earth. And that's about that Schumann resonance. And they have moisture properties with magnetic. They create a resonance. And what happens is they create a coherence between us and non-native EMFs. And that's what going outside does for us. That's what was it Dr. Cruz, I think, he shares that if you go closer to the equator, the sunlight is so strong, it'll dampen the 5G waveforms. So there's a healing component of being outside in a lot of different ways, and the crystals have that resonance. And let me jump back a sec here. I don't want anyone to fear this stuff. I got looped into that. I've been clearing homes with meters. I have meters to meter electricity, dirty electricity, and wireless. Gone into homes for about a decade and seen some crazy stuff: suicides to diabetes to kids grinding their teeth down to nothing because the other side of their wall of the head of their bed were 2 smart meters for the front and back unit of their home. Just devastating stuff I've seen from this, to all the bigs and disease. But The one big thing, I walked into an office building. They had the whole top was a parking structure. They had faux walls facing every direction, cell towers going crazy. Literally 10 seconds in the office building, headache, walked up on the roof. We literally walked up, it was less than 10 seconds, and all 5 of us strong young guys got headaches instantly. And we're like, oh, this is the scariest thing ever. And so I had to go get emotional clearing for it. And what I realized, hey, I can't fear this. Mm-hmm. You definitely don't want to be sitting in front of them like that or of that close proximity. And you can use other products like blocking devices, paint or tin or curtains or what have you, if there's something that strong and close to you. But the big thing is let's not give our fear away to this thing. We can't give our power away to this technology because there's this thing called physics, and we can convert a one-directional waveform into a polarizing one-directional waveform into something that's unpolarized. And that's the beauty of how the universe is created. And Mother Nature helps us do that outside, and the grounding bags help you do that inside.
Got it. Is there any utility of, I used to have it on the back of my phone, a shungite stone?
Yeah. So shungite, it has only the magnetic properties.
Okay.
So they're known as Tesla crystal, shungite, black tourmaline, amethyst. Mm-hmm. They have these resonances that are fantastic for EMF, but the challenge is they get overrun really quickly.
Okay.
And you have to reground them all the time. With the moisture content, with the magnetic and ours, they're way stronger, exponentially stronger. So one grounding bag on your bed, you'll sleep 3 to 50% deeper sleep, which is significant. Dr. Rodney White just did a sleep test. He's a chiropractor in Nebraska. He's checked his sleep for the last dozen years. His deep sleep went from 45 minutes to 100 minutes for 2 months straight with the grounding bag. Wow. He's never seen that improvement. And he's really EMF sensitive, which the growing percentage of the population is, I think, might be up to about 20% of the people now. And I feel that that's going to keep increasing with the proximity that we're rolling out.
Well, okay. So the grounding bag, just put it in your bed? Because I know you have 2 different bags. You have a mini and you have a sleep bag, right? You have a...
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we have a full size. So we have a mini. Here's a mini. Oh, here, I have one in my pocket. Minis for your pocket, purse, or backpack. The full size is for your bed, desk, or car seat. 5 together of these on the floor of your home clears 2,000 square feet. 7, you need 7 of them if you have solar, and you need 7 of them if you drive a Tesla or an electric car to clear the resonance of that. Wow. The minis are good for a purse for women, pocket for guys, backpack for anyone, kids and all, for on-the-go protection. And then so that's the big thing. It's the resonance is more of the mass of the earth in your home creates more of a coherence. So the game we're playing is how to get enough of nature into your world to where it creates a balance, a harmony, a coherence between us and all the stuff that we're inundating ourselves with and being inundated with just unintentionally.
Got it. I love what you're doing. I love the work. And I love the fact that we just kind of flipped it. It's okay, here's the information, but don't fear it. And this is what we can do. So what do you think of grounding pads? Yeah.
So Clint Ober is one of the big names and wrote a book called Earthing, which I recommend everyone read. And he did a lot of research on pain, and you don't have pain when you get your polarity back, as it opens up the circulation pathways, and you don't have that diversion of circulation. So huge studies on it, but I'm not a fan of those products. When you have to plug something into the grid, that's plugging it into a grid to maybe have one little ground. It's not enough. I don't feel that they work very well. I've had people say they feel like bugs crawling all over them. It's just a different resonance when you're kind of doing it through the grid. no one does it better than nature herself. So whether it's a Tesla coil or a man-made device attempting to keep up with these man-made bandwidths, which are really popular and they're really expensive, I look at those, Dr. Renee, as GMO products. Like, I don't eat GMO food. So they're genetically modifying a frequency. So it's the same concept. They're making a frequency to overpower the other frequency. Just intuitively, that isn't the direction that I feel that is most beneficial for everyone. I feel that no one does it better than Mother Nature herself. And when you look to her, we're going to see all the answers for our health.
Got it. One last quick question. You mentioned this when you were talking about athletic performance, light frequency, photobiomodulation, things like, these are all very hip hop, and I do a lot of them. I do the photobiomodulation and cryotherapy. Like, is there any utility in the EMF accumulation or damage or what have you to use any of these other modalities?
Yes. So you can actually use photobiomodulation, light therapy, red LED, infrared on a grounding bag, and that'll help amplify this.
Okay.
Tapping on the grounding bag amplifies this. The crystals and the moisture, they act like a homeopathic tincture. When you tap on it, it activates the properties in it and makes them more bioavailable, makes them, this, I say, hey, start to go to work. And so, yes, light therapy is going to be great for you as well. So Bruce Lipton talks about this. He says your chi is primary, your chemistry in your body is secondary. So when any of those modalities that can increase your chi and your life force are going to be the best things to look at for sure. Okay. So we do lots of sound therapy. I have a Dr. Steven Schwartz, a Vibe sound bed, which is fantastic. And he records frequencies of plants, embeds them in the music. When you go into a theta brainwave state, instantly it'll calm those cognitive stressors. I use a grounding bag when I'm doing that because that's electricity of a source that I'm being inundated with. So even though the frequencies take me into these brainwave states that are super medicinal, I still want to clear that vibration effect of the electricity. So that's where I use grounding bags with a lot of this technology, which is really fun for people to do. So that's the big thing, is to understand that you want to build your life force and your chi, and that's what's going to show through. I think Bear Lando, and this is another name we're going to connect you with because he's such a brilliant mind. So Tom Cowan, Bear Lando are the two that are really talking about the invisible resonances of waveforms. And hey, it's like, let's look at our universe. This air isn't just air. This is plasma or ether. Waves and particles travel through it, right? So this is the framework of our universe, but yet people aren't putting two and two together. It's like, that's how we're able to communicate, Dr. Renee. You're in New York, I'm in Southern California. How are we able to connect? It's all through wave forms. So that's why it's not so too far out of reach to say, hey, when you broadcast a resonance, it can instantly affect the entire world. So that's how in the invisible rainbow, before you could travel, people 2 weeks apart were having the same frequencies of contagions because it was a frequency that their bodies are dealing with. It wasn't a virus flying around in someone's mouth to kill somebody. Like, that's not how it works. Viruses, as Tom Cowan will say, they're our adaptive system. We're built on funguses and bacteria and viruses. We wouldn't be here without them. They're self-limiting by nature. They're dead proteins that we produce to adapt when we get overrun. So the big thing with him is the video that went viral I wanted to share with you is he's like, hey, we're studying dolphins. And he was at this medical conference and he said, if you're studying dolphins for 30 years and all of a sudden they get sick, are you going to go in 2020, are you going to go look at their genes and say in 2020, are their genes just going to shut down? And there are a few doctors that raise their hand, and he's like, no, he was preempting them. He's like, no, that would be stupid. You don't do that. And he said that on a video, and he said, are you going to go, did that dolphin give that dolphin a virus? And he goes, no. And there were a bunch of people that raised their hand on that one. He said, or are you going to look at who polluted the ocean, like some oil spill? Their environment was completely polluted. That's what their bodies were going through, that adaptive mechanism. So that's how he equated. That was the aha moment for every medical professional, MD, in that clinic. And then for the millions that have seen this video, it was riveting. And it was a really powerful thing, and the way he articulated it. But people don't direct our or relate our air to our environment like the ocean is for a dolphin. But it really is. It's so similar. So we got to understand what physics is, and how these waveforms interact with our bodies, and what health is, and how the frequencies of our food affect our hormones, and the list goes on and on.
I think the hard part a lot of times for people to grasp is the fact that we can't see it. Like, everyone's very, visual, like we can't see the waves. So like, if we don't see them, they're not there. And we forget about them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So grab, grab a meter. You can get a milligauss meter to meter the speed of the waveforms, which are basically, electricity is like 50 to 60 waves per second. You can get a Stetzer electric meter. You plug in the wall, it's $150. That meter is 4,000, 100,000. You can get an acoustimeter. That meters the wireless stuff. 50 million to billions of waves per second. I have a one directional acoustimeter. This thing's awesome. You can point it at your cell phone. The thing will start screaming. You point it away and it quiets down to nothing. So for the people who don't understand, or it's not clicking, like kids who are just attached to these security blankets, and you say, look, this isn't as calm and peaceful and quiet as it sounds right now. When you point this meter at it, it starts screaming. When you take it away, point the meter the other direction, it quiets down. These are the things that we need to understand. The other part about this, why does the life of our battery only last so long on these? And it's because they keep data harvesting. They're aggregating information at record speeds on cell phones and sending it to AI to learn from us. A lot of people will say it's surveillance marketing, which is true. They know all about you. It's a privacy challenge. We're giving them away so much information. We're getting less battery time, and they know everything about us. It's a huge challenge potentially for our body.
Got it. Yeah.
Inner freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's
our
wrap
privacy.
up. Yeah, right. Let's wrap up because I know you have another appointment, but one last question we can make quick, and then I just want to tell my audience where they can connect with you. But what is one thing you know now that you wish you knew 5 or 10 years ago, or even longer, maybe 20 years ago?
I knew intuitively that EMFs were challenging, but I didn't know the extent of it. And I wish I had known the extent of it longer ago. And we could even get more in front of this whole movement, because we're being lied to, and we have to unlearn a lot of the marketing that's being told. But I didn't know that it was the one directional waveforms versus unpolarized, how our universe and us are one, and how we're made. That's the big difference. So I wish I would have known that a lot sooner. And then from there, I would have known that the more I could get into nature and be one with her, the more vitality I would have, and my body wouldn't break down. I think we both had health challenges throughout our life in certain, areas, which a lot brings us to where we are today. I think you probably have, for me, I mean, I have a daughter, and the most incredible joy I've ever experienced was the birth of my daughter and procreation. You got to see that all the time, delivering babies. That is like joy that people don't get to see. I wish I could see that more. So to create, to get into nature and to feel those mechanisms and that rhythm, that infinite flow of health and wellness and abundance that she provides with us, it all comes from understanding the resonance of the earth. And you've seen it in your practice, and we're seeing it with EMF protection. And to bridge those together, I feel is so significant. So for people to get connected above and get grounded below, it's a huge, huge pillar for health.
I love that. Perfect. So how can the audience, where can they find you, or can they connect with you? Where's your products? Tell us all the good details.
Thank you. Yes. Athleticsim.com is our curated health products, spelled Athleticsim.com. I wrote a book on it. For those that don't spell it well, that's how you spell it. EMFrocks.com for the grounding bags. We sell these through doctor clinics all around the country. So we do a huge volume. We're the leading natural provider of EMF protection products in the marketplace. So really blessed to have those out there. And then I think Instagram at EMF Rocks or at Athleticsim Neurostacking. And those are the best ways to find us.
Perfect. And what about more information like this? Where are you on social media anywhere, or that?
Well, yeah, the Instagram, I think I get a little louder on Athleticsim.com than I do on, Athleticim Neurostacking versus just at EMF Rocks on Instagram.
Okay.
But I do podcasts all the time. We're on some great doctors that we're going to keep connecting you and these brilliant minds together to keep sharing this message, because it's so profound and it's really been missed in what health really is. And when we miss that big step in it, it's real challenging to heal. So I want to bridge that gap for everyone.
I love that. And as we were talking before I hit record, a lot of times what I do is putting the pieces of the puzzle together, or peeling back the layers of the onion, and EMF is a huge piece of the puzzle. So thank you so much for coming and explaining that all, and pretty much bringing it to a level that a lot of us can understand. So I think a lot of times when we don't understand something, we run from it. So thank you for providing such great information and very articulate in what it is and easy to understand. And thank you for doing the job that you're doing with your products and just spreading the word.
No, likewise. Thank you, Dr. Renee.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Real Heal and that you learned something new. And before you go, can you do me a quick favor? Take a screenshot right now and share it to Instagram and tag me so I can celebrate you for taking action and improving your health. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please take a minute to leave me a rating and a quick review. This will help others just like you find the show. And do not forget to subscribe, because you will not want to miss out on any of the amazing guest experts that I have coming up very soon. And remember, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. Do one thing today that makes you happy and learn to love life again. And with that, I'm out of here. Talk to you again soon.